Good morning. Today we'll be studying Perek Revi'i of Hilchot Teshuva. My name is Jacob Ovadia, and I'll be studying this chapter with you today.
Jacob, I think you're off air. I think you're not.
Are you sure?
No, it's live.
Okay, good morning. Today we'll be studying Perek Revi'i Hilchot Teshuva. My name is Jacob Ovadia, and I'll be studying with you this chapter. Perek Revi'i basically talks about the certain things that delay or withhold or make the Teshuvah process a little bit difficult in contrast to someone who doesn't have one of these things. Okay, halakha aleph. 24 דברים מעכבים את התשובה. There are 24 things that withhold or delay and make the teshuvah process more difficult. 4 מהן עוון גדול. העושה אחד מארבעתן, אין הקדוש ברוך הוא מספיק בידו לעשות תשובה לפי גודל חטאו. 4 of them are committing a great transgression, and anyone who does one of these 4, God does not aid or provide the means for this person to do teshuvah as a result of the magnitude of his transgression. ואלוהן, and these are the 4. המחטיא את הרבים, ובכלל עוון זה המעכב את הרבים מלעשות מצווה. Anyone who causes the masses to transgress, and included in this is anyone who withholds from the public or the masses to do any mitzvah. והמטה חברו מדרך טובה לדרך רעה כגון מסית ומדיח. And anyone who tilts his friend and causes him to go on a bad path from the good path. For example, anyone who is a enticer, both for one person, a mesit, and the mediach is someone who entices an entire city. It's like an nidahat, as we studied in Hilchot Avodah Zarah. Anyone who sees his son who's cultivating bad habits and is in an evil environment and does not protest or discipline his son. Because his son is lives in his house and he provides the means for his son. If he would have protested his son would have stopped these bad habits. And it's as if he's causing his son to transgress. ובכלל עוון זה, כל שאפשר בידו למחות באחרים, בין ברבים בין ביחידים ולא מיחה בהם, אלא הניח אותם בכישלונן. Similarly, anyone, and included in this, is anyone who has the ability to protest anyone else, both many people but also an individual, and does not protest and leaves them in their stumbling, is also included in this category of great transgressions that cause the teshuvah to be difficult. Anyone who says, I'll transgress and then I'll do teshuvah, and included in this is anyone who says that I'll transgress, but Yom Kippur will cover my avon. All of these things, if you think about it, really make the teshuvah process difficult and withhold an individual from doing teshuvah. And it is very difficult for a person to do teshuvah totally after they commit one of these averot. Halakha bet. Umehen, and included in one of the 24 things that make the teshuvah process more difficult, are 5 things that, so to speak, lock the path of teshuvah in the face of those who try and do teshuvah, of those who commit these avirot. Basically, these things prevent a person, due to his circumstances, to do teshuvah, and again make the teshuvah process a lot harder than a regular person. And here they are. הפורש מן הציבור, לפי שבזמן שיעשה תשובה לא יהיה עמהן, ואינו זוכה עמהן בזכויות שעושים. Anyone who, we spoke about this yesterday in Perek Gimel Halacha Yod Aleph, about anyone who separates himself from the community, as when they do Teshuva, he won't be with them, and won't be included in the community, and he will not merit with anything that they do. Anyone who opposes the words of the sages, because his opposition to the Chachamim causes him to be separate from them and to leave them, basically. And he won't know the path to Teshuvah. Anyone who disdains or mocks the mitzvot. Anyone who disdains the mitzvot and in his eyes views them as disgraceful to do, this individual will never chase to do the mitzvot and will never do them. And if he doesn't do them, well, what will he merit for himself, and what benefit will he have ultimately? Anyone who disgraces his teachers, anyone who disgraces his teachers, it's very, very difficult for this person to do teshuvah, because it will cause his teachers to push him away, just like Jesus and Gehazi. We'll explain who those are in a minute. And he at the time that his teachers are pushing him away, and at this time he's repudiated and won't find a teacher, anyone teaching him the true path that he should go on in order to do teshuvah or the mitzvot. In Masechet Sanhedrin Kuf Zayin Amud Bet, it talks about these two characters. Obviously, we know Jesus, the famous character of the Christian religion. In the Gemara, it says that Rabbi Yoshua ben Perachia pushed him away because him and his teacher Rabbi Yoshua ben Perachia were at an inn in Alexandria in Egypt, and Rabbi Yoshua ben Perachia commented about how beautiful the inn was, and Jesus thought that he was talking about the innkeeper's wife. So he made a comment, and Rabbi Yoshua ben Perachia got very, very embarrassed and disgraced and rebuked Jesus. And Gehazi also similarly disgraced his teacher and called Elisha Hanavi by his name. And again, if anyone wants to see it, in Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Bet. Next, Vasonet HaTochachot. Anyone who despises or hates hearing rebuke or criticism. שהרי לא הניח לו דרך התשובה. שהתוכחה גורמת לתשובה, שבזמן שמודיעים לאדם חטאיו ומחלימים אותו, חוזר בתשובה, כמו שכתוב בתורה, זכור אל תשכח. And anyone who hates rebuke or criticism, because this person will not go on the path of teshuvah if no one tells him what he's doing wrong. And rebuke leads an individual to do teshuvah. And when someone tells another person his transgressions or his misdeeds and embarrasses him in a way, obviously not embarrasses him publicly and not embarrass or in a disgraceful way, but when an individual rebukes someone else, it is a little bit embarrassing because someone else is pointing out your flaws. This person will eventually do teshuvah because it causes him to realize what he's doing wrong. As the pasuk says, "Zechor tishkach maminim heitin." This is Moshe Rabbeinu talking to Am Yisrael, telling them to remember and not to forget the fact that they were rebels towards God. That God did not give you a heart to understand what you were doing wrong. Am naval velo chacham. This is, again, Moshe Rabbeinu speaking, calling the Jewish people a unintelligent and stupid nation. Obviously, all of this was for the gain and benefit of Am Yisrael in order for them to do Teshuva. Similarly, Yeshayahu and Navi also rebuked the Jewish people, as he says, Yada Shor Konehu. This is in the first perek of Yeshaya that he remarks that even the ox knows his master. And he says that Yada Shor Konehu v'hamor avus v'ala b'Yisrael yada Adonai ammi lo yitkonan. The Jews don't even know who their master is, as the ox knows his master. Mida'ati ki kashe'ata. I have known you're a stubborn and difficult people. Also, God instructed him to rebuke those who transgress. Call with your voice, don't spare. Similarly, if you read all the Nevi'im, they all rebuke the Jewish people, and it's the bulk of what the Nevi'im as a whole talk about, trying to get the Jewish people to return and to change their path to do Teshuvah. So too, therefore, because similar to the way the Nevi'im would rebuke the Jewish people and cause them to do Teshuvah, likewise, it is appropriate, and every individual, every Jewish community every Jewish community must establish for them a wise sage who is many in years and has Yirat Shamayim from when he is young, and he loves the community and loves the people, in order for him to rebuke the masses and to cause them to return and do Teshuvah. And anyone who hates, going back to the point that anyone who hates hearing rebuke will be difficult for him to do Teshuvah. And anyone who hates hearing rebuke will never come and hear what he's doing wrong, and never come to hear anyone rebuke him and tell him to change his ways and do Teshuvah. Again, the whole point of the rebuke is for an individual to do Teshuvah. Because if he doesn't go and hear rebuke, he'll hold on to his transgressions and he'll never do Teshuvah because they seem good in his eyes, and no one will ever point out to him what he's doing wrong. There are also 5 things. It is impossible for this person to do complete and wholesome teshuvah, as we mentioned in the previous chapter what that was. That was an individual who is put in the exact same situation that he was previously, and the things that we're going to list here are very, very difficult for an individual, and basically impossible for an individual to do wholesome teshuvah and be put in the same exact situation and erase what he did as if he did teshuvah totally. Because they are transgressions that are between an individual and his neighbor. And these, the following things, are when a transgressor doesn't know who he harmed in order to help them or to ask forgiveness from this individual. They are the following. Anyone who curses the masses. He didn't curse a specific or individual person in order for him to ask forgiveness. Anyone who buys stolen goods from a thief. As this individual doesn't know whose goods the thief stole, he can never return them, because a thief steals from the masses and then he brings it and someone buys from it. He doesn't know who he stole from. Additionally, moreover, he's encouraging the thief by supporting him and by buying goods from him, to keep stealing and causing him to transgress again. And there's this idea of Lifnei Iver Lo Titen Mechshol. In Hilchot Gezela, we'll talk about that, but that's basically putting a stumbling block before the blind, obviously not a literal stumbling block, but causes someone else to transgress. Anyone who finds a lost object and does not proclaim it to be lost, for him to return it to whoever lost it. After a period of time that he wants to do teshuvah, he will never know whose lost object it was, because he didn't proclaim it to be lost. And the owner, assuming, forgot about this object. Anyone who partakes in the theft of the poor and the orphans and the widow's assets. Elu bnei Adam amlelinhen, these individuals are misfortune. Ve'enan yeduin mufursamin, and they're not known or famous. Ve'golin me'ir le'ir, ve'enhem mekir kedei sheyeda shod zeh shelemihi hu ve'yachzirenu lo. As these people wander from city to city, and no one really knows who they are, whose theft this is, in order to return them, because if they go from city to city, no one's going to go and find them and chase them. And just this side point, the Torah, as we'll see later in the later halachot, very much emphasizes an individual's responsibility to take care of Yetumim and Almanot and the destitute and those who misfortune befell them. And it's both incumbent on an individual and us as a community to look out for these people and keep an eye on them especially. Anyone who accepts bribery to tilt judgment both in his favor and in the favor of someone else. This individual doesn't know how far this tilting of judgment goes for. Because this thing has feet, so to speak. But the point that Rambam is making is that this judgment has a long-term effect on many people and can truly harm and damage anyone in ways that we can't even imagine. And it would be very difficult, it's impossible for an individual to retract what he did. Moreover, similar with the Ganav, he's encouraging this type of behavior and causing the individual to transgress more in the future, because he knows he can get away with what he did. The following things are 5, and an individual who does it, the presumption is that he will not return from these actions. And these are specific behavioral actions that are very, very difficult for an individual to change his ways. And the assumption is that you won't do teshuvah. Obviously, if an individual demonstrates that he did teshuvah, of course we accept him. And here they are, because and additionally, because the following things seem minor in the ways and in the eyes of most people. And the following things seem minor in individuals' perspective. And even though he is transgressing, he'll imagine that he is not transgressing, and all of these things are not real averot, despite the fact that they are. And they are the following. Anyone who eats from a meal that is not sufficient for the hosts, because this is an offshoot of theft, and he imagined that he isn't doing anything wrong, and he says to himself, had I not eaten with the host's consent. An example of this is anyone who is poor, doesn't have necessarily the means to provide for himself in a way that a rich person might do so. And if this poor person invites someone else over, and the person and the guest knows that this individual is poor, but he decides to partake and eat as much as he wants anyway, and the host is forced to give him food. And that's how it's robbery in that sense. And then and the guest says that, and attempts to rationalize what he did, and says that the host gave me food, I didn't do anything wrong. Bet, anyone who uses the collateral of a poor person. Because the collateral of a poor person is only things like a shovel or a plow. That this individual will say that he just used it and he didn't diminish their worth in any way, and he didn't steal them at all, and he didn't do anything wrong. But in fact, it is prohibited to use the collateral of a poor person. We're going to explain what the word mistakel means in a second, but anyone who, let's assume for now, that looks at anyone who's an arayot, anyone who's prohibited from him to marry, he imagines in his mind that there's nothing wrong, that he says, I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't have any relations or do any actions or approach any of these people. He doesn't realize that an individual who uses his eyes to view inappropriate things and to think about things that are inappropriate is a grave transgression. That this causes actual sexual misconduct. That you shall not stray after your hearts or after your eyes. And Harambam used a very specific word when he described this halakha. In the Hebrew mind, there are 3 levels of seeing. There's ra'ah, hibit, and histakel. Ra'ah is just to look casually, without necessarily thinking about or processing whatever you're seeing. Hibit is to see and to think a little bit, but to think superficially about whatever it is you're seeing. And the stakel is a deeper looking, and that implies processing and thinking about and planning something after you look at whatever you're looking at. So when Harambam said mistakel ba'arayot, it's an individual who is looking and processing something. Obviously, the connotation is to do an avera with an individual he's prohibited to have relations with. This is something we talked about in the last chapter, about anyone who uses his friend's fault to make himself look good and to make himself look honorable. He thinks that and rationalizes in his mind that he isn't doing anything wrong and not transgressing. Because his friend isn't present when he is making himself look good. And he didn't cause any embarrassment or shame. Rather, all he did was compared his own good deeds and his own intelligence and knowledge compared to his friend's actions or intelligence. But in fact, the purpose and the result is that he makes himself look honorable and disgraces his friend. Anyone who suspects in people that are upright, he rationalizes in his mind that he didn't do anything wrong. He thinks and says to himself, what did I do? All I did was, there might be a legitimate suspicion or reason that I should suspect this person. Because this individual puts in his mind that his neighbor did something wrong and is and suspects an individual for no good reason, even though this individual is upright and did not do anything wrong. Halacha he. ומהן, 5 דברים העושה אותם יימשך אחריהן תמיד, והן קשים לפרוש מהן. And the following 5 things are very difficult for an individual to stop this type of behavior. And these behaviors are ingrained in an individual's psyche. And if you want, you can use the example of a gambler, that a gambler does a certain type of behavior. It's very difficult for him to stop. Individual must be extremely, extremely careful not to even begin these actions, because once an individual begins these actions, it's very difficult to stop. And they are very, very bad character traits. As we spoke of, and we mentioned these in Hilchot Deot, and they are the following. Rechilut, someone who is a gossiper and goes around telling people different things, both good and bad, about other people. Lashon hara, anyone who says derogatory things about others. Anyone who gets angry. And anyone who has an evil mindset and evil thoughts and constantly is contemplating about doing averot. This obviously affects his behavior. It will impact the way he lives his life. Anyone who attaches himself to a wicked person, because he will learn from this evil person's actions. And they are written in this person's heart and become part of his psyche. And again, psychology talks about how an individual learns from his environment and the people that he surrounds himself with, and group think as well. Anyone who is in a group will be impacted by the actions of the people in the group. And anyone who a person associates with will learn from those behaviors. Husha Amar Shalamo, Vero'ech Kesidim Yaroa, is anyone who does evil with fools, bad things will eventually happen to him and come to him, as Shlomo says. And this is true for anyone who looks for this and sees this in an individual's life, that anyone who attaches himself and becomes friends with the Rasha just goes downhill. And we spoke about in Hilchot Deot about the good character traits that an individual should have. Obviously, this applies for anyone who is about Teshuva and returning from his evil path. And now Rambam is going to give a disclaimer for everything in this chapter. And it's extremely important to remember and this is something that he said in the previous chapter. Everything that these mentioned, the list of 24 things that delay and withhold the Teshuvah process. Even though they delay and make Teshuvah difficult, they do not withhold the Teshuvah. An individual always has the choice and the ability to do Teshuvah. Nothing stands in that way from a person's choice to do Teshuvah. And he always has that option and can resort to it whenever he wants and choose to do Teshuvah. Illa im asa adam Teshuvah mehen, harez about Teshuvah. Rather, if an individual does do Teshuvah from one of these things, despite one of these things, in the face of one of these things even, he is called a Baal Teshuvah. V'yesh lo chelek le'olam haba, and he does have a portion in the world to come. And Rambam later will speak about different characters that go down an evil path and have their free choice taken away from them. But Be'ezat Hashem, we'll see that in the next few chapters and how that ties into Teshuvah.